so my background is a little bit mixed. So I like to think I have three chapters to my career. So
Very good.
yeah, I started off in retail and working with clients in salons actually many years ago. And then I moved into training. So I was training for companies, delivering training for their clients on product, customer service, and retail. So a lot of training around that space.
Very good.
And then I actually retrained myself and went back to college with the Digital Marketing Institute. And I retrained in social media marketing and digital marketing. So they're the three chapters that I have. So I suppose, yeah, in my current role at the CX company, I have the opportunity to pull all that experience together, all of my time face to face with clients and helping them and interacting, but in the digital space. So for the CX company, I look after all of their marketing and also look after some of their clients as well. So it's a lovely kind of mixed role that brings together all of my experience and my love for digital and customer experience as well.
So in a relatively short professional life, you've had three careers, more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Childhood like, may I ask?
My childhood, yeah, I was the oldest of there was 6 of us all together. I had 5 brothers. They were all younger than me. So I suppose I learned very quickly that I have to be competitive and be strong out there. So I think it was a good life lesson, I think.
Indeed. Anything else you'd like to talk about in your childhood?
No, just happy days, really. Apart from all the babysitting that I had to do for my little brothers, but it taught me a lot of responsibility, which is good. I grew up in Carlow as well, so I grew up in the countryside. But I've been living in Dublin, I suppose, for the last couple of years. So it's become my second home here.
Yeah. How was it like to move from rural Carlow into the big smoke, I suppose you could say? Was it a big change for you?
Yeah, it was a big change. So in Carlow, at the time I was working in salons with clients. And when I moved to Dublin from Carlow, which was a kind of small town, to Dublin, it was a big change. I ended up working in Brown Thomas, which was a big department store, as you know, in Dublin. So busy. Busy street, yeah. So I had a lot of customers. I had to learn quickly, but it was a great experience. I found in just interacting with customers on a larger scale, working to targets. That was my first time working to targets properly in that department store, and I learned a massive amount from that experience.
So for a young person coming up from rural County Carlow to work on Brown Thomas, how did you feel as a person when you landed that job? What thoughts went through your head?
Yeah, I suppose at the time I was really proud because I knew that like Brown Thomas was a 5-star establishment. I knew I was going to learn great things. I loved the location, the vibe of being in the city. So I was really excited about that role.
Is there anything else? Is there anything you miss about Brown Thomas today?
I suppose always stays with me is the atmosphere in the store, the collaboration between the people working on the floor and the customers, just that face-to-face interaction with the customers. Some days you'd have a great day, you'd have lovely customers, the day would go smoothly, you'd hit your targets. And then you'd have other days, where you might have a bad interaction with somebody, maybe somebody wasn't happy about something. So I think in that sense, like not knowing what the day is going to bring, dealing with different people at different levels, like that was a challenge, but also something that I enjoy even still. When I think back, I always think fun memories of the job.
More fair play to you and more power to your elbow, I must say. It's great to be able to remember fondly past jobs. And it's, you can always look back in life at a later date and say, I worked in Brown Thomas. I was proud to work in Brown Thomas.
Yeah.
Fair play to you.
That's it.
Tell me why is it important for all business owners to focus on customer retention and to provide the best possible customer experience?
Yeah, I think when it comes to customers, obviously without our customers, we don't have a business. So no matter what industry you're working in or what job or what role you have, being able to understand your customers and being able to take them through a positive journey and experience with you and with your brand and with your people is just, it's the most important thing for any business to be successful, and to keep your customers coming back in the doors to you, which ultimately helps to grow the business. And we all know that if you have a great experience somewhere, you want to talk about it and share that experience with other people. So I think if we can create that excitement and engagement with our customers and just get them to really love our brand and love what we do, we're just going to end up getting more customers from it, and we're going to get long-term customers that are going to stay with us, for the long haul. So I think it's a must-have for any business to focus on that.
What you're saying there effectively is you have happy customers. They in turn will become part of your sales team and recommend your business to their, prospective people in their network, people in their families, people in relations, friends, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think I read recently that it's about 81% of people that are now online looking up your brand essentially before they go into you. So that part of the experience is really important. And then we have over half the people who are reading reviews about our company and other people's interactions and how they went. So that part of it is so important in the customer experience.
So what you're saying effectively is make sure that your customer service is beyond the very best limits that you can possibly provide, and make sure you don't get any bad social media reviews on Google My Business or on your website from people, because that can damage customer retention. And also in terms of customer retention, it's much easier and it's far less expensive to retain customers than it is to get new customers in their place.
Yeah, that's it. So true.
Yeah. Explain what communication is key to outstanding connections, and happy staff are key to happy customers.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's something that's becoming a big focus now, particularly during the pandemic, is the focus on staff again, and happy staff and looking after our teams really well means that they're going to have, the mental capacity, the energy, the enthusiasm to want to help your customers and go above and beyond with that. So if we look after our staff and treat them really, really well, they're going to pass those good vibrations onto our customers essentially. So I think that's really important. And I suppose thinking of your team as part of the customer experience as well, because at various different touch points, they're going to be coming into contact with your team and with your people, and they're kind of responsible for your brand. So it's really important that we look after them really well, appreciate them, recognize their hard work, and give them the support they need to be able to do their job really well.
Going back to your days as a learning and development professional, can you explain why using video content for training increases employee engagement in training?
Yeah, so I suppose with anything, like even ourselves, like if we want to look up something now, like most people are going to YouTube, going to video, they're time compressed. They don't have time to kind of read big long articles or syllabuses for study. They want it to be quick and instantaneous. So the best way to achieve that is actually through video. And if we think about ourselves in daily life, we do that all the time. So it makes sense that as an employee, you would also kind of learn better in that way. It also means that you can kind of be selective about what you're learning, go to the relevant module. Yeah, rather than, having to go through everything to get the answer to your question. So I think that it makes sense from a company's point of view. It saves them money and resources, and having the physical trainer in the room and getting everybody in for the day. It's very time consuming and very difficult to get times that suit everybody and so on. So I think it makes sense. It makes learning accessible. If you have people working in different time zones as well, you can also kind of find something that suits them. And the training's consistent every time. It's the same training. So there's no issue with consistency and getting the key information across to your team. So I think it's a great thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I remember many years ago when I was working in the United Kingdom, but I went to a management development course, and it was very much, I should say, push communication. All the information was pushed out to you, and it was up to you to digest it and make use of it. But nowadays, with video content, people have much more choice, and you can decide, I like a person's way of explaining stuff, so I'll watch video X in preference to video Y or a Z. So there's much more choice out there for the consumer nowadays. And I think that's one of the beauties of YouTube or Vimeo when it comes to customer training or staff training. Moving on to your time as a digital marketing expert, can you explain the difference between paid advertisement and organic content in terms of social media activity?
Yeah, so organic is the one that everyone loves. So organic is people are coming to you, they're coming to you because they're interested in your content, they've come across it, maybe that you've shared something, they want to engage with it. So I think it's what every company strives for, is having a really good level of organic search results when it comes to social media or the internet. Paid advertisement is wonderful if you have a big budget to be able to kind of achieve your goals with that, get the net as wide as you can, and all of that. It's fantastic in terms of the results you can achieve, but as I said, for all businesses, it's not really the easiest. We don't all have massive budgets when it comes to advertising on social media and the internet.
That was the same, yeah.
But what I would say to people is that my focus, and whenever I work as a digital marketer, is to focus on organic. Number one priority is to make sure that I have the right keywords, that I'm using the right hashtags, that I'm labeling my images correctly, and I'm producing content that's relevant to my audience. And I think if you can do that and do that really, really well, and also network well with people, use the people around you, reach out to them. Maybe there's something that you can do for them in return. And that type of connection and networking is so valuable when it comes to organically growing your business. And in terms of paid, you will get the results, but it's a big investment. And I think in the early days of social media, every business was so lucky. Like if you got in there early and you were posting regularly on social media and doing it properly, your audience just grew hugely. But now, obviously, there's more of a focus around the amount of payments and how much you get, and the money side of it's more of a focus now, I think, for social media companies. So that is a challenge, just particularly for smaller businesses. But I would just say, don't let it hold you back. Focus on organic, focus on your customers. Don't get distracted by the noise around you, and you'll do amazing things on the online space.
Thank you for that very comprehensive answer. And just moving on to talk more specifically about paid advertising campaigns. Why is it so important to understand your ideal client before you embark on a paid advertising campaign?
Yeah, so with paid advertisement, spaces like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, you can select your audience when it comes to paid advertisement.
Very good.
Which means you can narrow the net, which is a good thing. Again, you're paying for that, so it's really important that you get the most out of it. And the best way to get the best out of your paid advertisement is to know your customer, know what they like, basically have a really good persona for that customer. Just imagine them as a real person. It would be my advice. So, for example, it's John, and John likes, X, Y, and Z, and he lives in this location, and he uses this type of technology, and this is what he engages with best. So really try and understand your customer, build a persona for them. And I think once you have that, it's so valuable when you go on to paid advertisement platforms like your LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, that you can kind of home in on just that person, reach out to that person and connect with them. That's really key when it comes to paid advertisements.
So what you're saying there effectively, Caroline, is that your ideal client has to be so niched before you actually embark on that paid advertising campaign, yes, because otherwise you're going to end up, putting advertisements out there to the world and its dog. So you need to know what the favorite restaurant is of your ideal client, what food they eat, what car they drive,
yes,
what newspaper they read, whether it's digital or in print, what hobbies they have. Did they play golf? Did they play rugby, Gaelic football, hurling, camogie, whatever the case may be? What schools do their children go to? Where do they live? All that type of thing. It's so important to understand in terms of building up your ideal client avatar.
Yeah, exactly. It's really stepping into your customer's shoes and just imagine that you are them. What are the challenges they face? And I think when you understand that, you'll be able to lay the journey out for that customer.
Very good. And in terms of paid advertising campaigns, in the present tense, in the present day, I suppose you could say, which of the platforms is the most effective in terms of those advertising campaigns? Say Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, for example.
Yeah, I think, again, it depends on the persona that you have, that customer that you're speaking to. Because, like, say for me, for example, I love LinkedIn and I love Instagram. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it that much. So I think understanding what it is you're trying to market, where those people are, is the first step to take. And then once you choose the platform, it's going to be effective because you're reaching out in the right way to the right person. Another thing is maybe just being aware of like the times that you're posting as well, to get the most out of it. So making sure that you're regularly checking your analytics on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and see when are people hanging out there. When are they? What days are best? What times are best? So taking all of that into account as well when you're putting together your campaign.
Tell me, how will technology impact the future of the customer experience?
Yeah, I think when it comes to technology, like I love technology, and you can definitely see it even in the younger generation. They're even more attached to technology than I would be, even say. So I think it's going to probably become more of a focus over the next while. You've probably noticed it during the COVID, for example, money being invested quite heavily from a lot of companies across the world when it comes to digital. And they're really they've moved up now to a new level when it comes to technology. But I think there may be a gap on the human side of it, and maybe an over-reliance on the technology, and almost feeling like the technology is going to fix everything. Is maybe an issue for some companies going forward. So I think it's really important that that we're able to work together and align the digital and the human, and thinking about the goal of the company, the direction that you want to go in, what are your values, what do you want to bring across to your customer, and just making sure that that we're using digital, but using it in a positive way and keeping it very personable at the same time. So, for example, if you're sending emails, make sure you get the person's name on it. Pick up the phone whenever you can, and keep that human connection. So once you have the balance, I think that's the key.
Yeah. Obviously over the last maybe 10, 15 years, there's been a big emphasis in the banking sector on fintech. And,
yes,
there's much less interaction with banking staff than there used to be in the past. Everything is done through machines and branches. lodging money through a machine. In many parent TSB branches, for example, there's no cash desks anymore. You have to go to a branch further away. You have to lodge money, for example. So technology is taking over in that respect. And also in terms of the pandemic we had recently, a lot of businesses that were in person moved into the e-commerce sphere. And what you need there is to retain customers, is to have the ability for your customer to complete their transaction in a seamless way. If there's any difficulty in that journey, the customer is going to go somewhere else and buy their product or service. So the whole area of technology has its upside, but it can have downsides if it's not, as you say, thought through properly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Why is empathy a key emotional driver when it comes to the customer experience, employee experience, and ultimately business success?
Yeah, I think empathy is, for me, it stands out as the most important one, because no matter how smart our technology gets, with the arrival of AI and all of that, it doesn't replace empathy. Empathy is what makes us human. And I think human is what connects people. So empathy and being able to step into a customer's shoes, for example, be able to understand how another human being might be feeling, or if I do something, how that might impact on that individual, that emotional intelligence is probably the most important, thing to be able to have. It's what sets us apart from the machines ultimately, and it's just makes us. It just drives that connection to people. So I think it is a key emotion and key thing that we need to tap into probably more. And with the arrival of all this digital, and probably over the last couple of years, everyone, with COVID, has been online a lot more, doing a lot more Zoom calls, just working from home all the time, and probably, experiencing that little bit of disconnect as humans. And I think that's what we need to kind of make sure that we're not losing that, and keep that connection going. That human element is so important.
True. And I think in terms of social media and empathy, one of the great ways to establish empathy on a social media platform is for the person who's making the post is to make themselves vulnerable to their target audience. And that establishes an emotional connection with the target audience. And also to use stories. Stories is a great way to establish that emotional contact, or connection, I should say, with your target audience in social media. And again, on Zoom or in team meetings, is to tell stories that gets people interested in what you're saying, and it establishes that emotional connection with you and them, between you and them, I should say. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, it's just letting people see that you are human, that you make mistakes, that so for example, for businesses, letting them have a look inside behind the doors of the people that work at the company, something like that. Meet the teams, like those are really popular ways to kind of showcase your business and the human elements of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think when you get out there to meet people face to face, it's so important to be authentic on social media, because the last thing you want to do is to give one impression of yourself on social media and then prospects or clients see a different side to you when they meet you in face. So I think that's why it's so important to be truthful when posting on social media and to make yourself vulnerable to people, because to see this person has been on a journey, they're making improvements, I can connect with that person, I want to do business with that person.
Yeah, that's it. It's definitely that, like you said, that vulnerability and being your authentic true self, and just carrying that into your brand and into your business. And people really appreciate that. It takes away a lot of the confusion for them. So for sure, that's good advice.
Going back to your days as a digital marketing expert and looking into the future now, where do you see social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter in 5 years' time?
Oh, that's a really tough question. Like for me, like when I think about the digital side of it, like I never had the opportunity to go to study digital marketing when I finished school, for example. It wasn't an option because there wasn't any digital, like at the time there wasn't any internet, there wasn't well, there was internet, but it was really slow dial-up, didn't really count. And there was no Facebook or social media. It's only in the last couple of years that has come into the forefront for us. And I've had the opportunity now to work in that space. And I can see the rate at which it's changing. It's phenomenal. Like Facebook, for example, has changed obviously into the meta, and now we're going into metaverse, and that is a new level of social media and really kind of pulling people into it. I think social media is a great thing. I love it. It's a great tool, fantastic for business and connecting to people. But I do worry about maybe the level at which it changes and how involved people are in their daily lives with social media outside of business. So I hope that there will be some balance with that, but I have the feeling that I can see it becoming more and more part and ingrained into people's lives. So I think there'll be good opportunity for business in terms of growth, but I just hope that we're able to get the separation when it comes to our daily lives, away from that a little bit.
I know what you're saying there. It's very easy to go to bed and be looking at the social media accounts on the smartphone. You have to be able to say, I'm going to bed now, I might read a book for 20 minutes, I'll turn off my phone for the night, and look at it again when I get up in the morning time. And you often hear stories about people being disturbed by the blue light during midnight. It's
definitely something to be mindful of. I suppose that digital and social media is a fantastic thing and can really drive civilization forward and help people in massive ways. Just to find that balance in your personal life as well, that you're not getting too pulled into it.
Yeah. 3 remarkable things I can take away from today's interview with Caroline are, firstly, in terms of a technology investment, you have to think through what you want that technology to do in the first instance. So be strategic, get your plans right before you implement the technology. Secondly, empathy is so important in business. Don't over-rely on Zoom or Teams meetings. Get out there and meet people and establish an emotional connection with those people. Learn about the issues they have in their lives and connect with them as people. And thirdly, looking at Caroline herself, there's always a second opportunity in life. And never be afraid to educate yourself and make a decision to go back to college and take on a new degree course, because it's never too late to start a new career. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience before I let you go, Caroline?
Yeah, I think that's kind of it, particularly what you said there in terms of not being afraid to kind of try new things. It can be a bit scary going from one career where you're really well established and you're doing really well with it and you love it, to trying something new. It's always a risk, but I think just be brave. There's ways to do that, study at nighttime, safe ways to kind of transition. But just, keep your options open and just don't be afraid to try new things, for sure.
Thank you very much for that piece of advice there, Caroline. I agree with that and would concur with it fully. And on that note, I will bring today's show to an end. Thank you, Caroline.